So if I've got partially hydrogenated palm kernel oil and soy lecithin and xanthan gum, which are all made from plants, those are healthy? Just the other day, I had a patient come in and he was getting a review of his blood work, and he said,
Dr. Martin, this past month, I've been on the plant-based diet.
and I said, oh, really? Tell me what that is. And he said,
Well, where I eat things based on plants. And I said,
so how's it working for you? And he said,
well, I'm pretty bloated and I've gained about 6 or 8 pounds. I kind of feel like I must be doing something wrong, but it's definitely all plant-based.
I started asking him some other details about what he was eating, and turns out he was eating mostly rice and pasta and potatoes and cereal. And I gotta tell you, he nailed it on the plant-based. The problem is that the concept plant-based diet gives you absolutely no guidance about what you should actually eat. Now, I've looked this up a couple of times. There is no definition out there of what the plant-based diet is. There are people who kind of talk about it. There's people that have written books trying to explain it. But when you say plant-based, that based part gets you in trouble every time. Here's why. The vast majority of our ultra-processed food comes from plants. Therefore, it's plant-based. It's what they're doing to it in the industrial factories that causes us the problems. So if you were just chewing on a sugar cane to get a little sweetness in your day, you would not get nearly as much sugar as you'd get from drinking a soda, and you would get a little bit of sweetness, you would get some fiber, and you would be the one processing the sugar cane. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and do that, but I will tell you there's lots of places in the world where they sell chunks of sugarcane in the market for you to chew on and suck on. In fact, that's exactly what they're doing, is giving you the natural thing itself instead of the processed version, like the sugar cane, which gets turned into, candy. So plant-based is a meaningless bit of jargon that leads so many people the wrong direction. I get what they're trying to say. Stay away from animal products. The people that promote the plant-based diet believe there's some essential virtue in that. The problem is that our processed plant-based products and our processed animal-based products, the processed part is the problem, not whether it's coming from the plant or coming from the animal. Humans have a very long and successful career eating both plants and animals in a whole variety of combinations, and basically universally accepted that the less processed, the better. I don't really care from a medical point of view if you've chosen no animal products, as long as you're sure you're getting plenty of protein. If you're only eating animal products, for a short period of time, that's going to be okay. But it's not a great long-term strategy. That's going to ultimately increase the amount of cellular inflammation in your body, which is going to cause you problems. The most important thing you can do is figure out if the food you're about to eat is processed or not. Now, I have seen long, multiple paragraph definitions of what ultra-processed means. So I'm going to try to boil it down for you. If it's not something you would make in your kitchen, even if you're not a cook or a chef, if it's not something you're starting from scratch and you're creating yourself, it's probably ultra processed. If you have no idea and don't even know how to begin figuring out how the scientist created this particular food, it's probably highly processed. If you can't find the way to make this thing you're thinking about in a recipe somewhere, it's probably ultra processed. If it is already packaged in plastic and in cardboard and frozen and canned, and if it's got some fancy way that it's put together and delivered to you, it's probably ultra processed. If you can leave it alone on the back shelf of your pantry for weeks and months and it's still good, probably ultra processed. Now, I know that there are people out there thinking of an exception to everything I just said. And that's my point. It's hard to define, but I want to raise your consciousness that ultra-processed is the real problem, and in the plant-based diet, the majority of it is still ultra-processed. So if you'll get rid of the ultra-processed and eat the fresh or the whole plant-based foods, now you're on the right track. So keep it fresh, keep it real, keep it whole, keep it unprocessed, and you're on the right track with plant-based. So what is a plant-based diet? The diet consists primarily of food made of plants, fruits and vegetables, in addition to nuts, seeds, whole grains, and legumes. This is from Harvard Health Publishing. What is the evidence that plant-based eating patterns are healthy? Much nutrition research has examined plant-based eating patterns, such as the Mediterranean diet and a vegetarian diet. The Mediterranean diet has a foundation of plant-based foods. It also includes fish, poultry, eggs, cheese, and yogurt a few times a week, with meats and sweets less often. Is that clear to you what they're recommending that you eat? No. Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure that fish and poultry are meat. Is there any other way to define that, really? So if I'm eating plant-based and fish and poultry and eggs and cheese and meat and sweets, if I'm just Joe reading this, I'm like, yeah, I eat plant-based. I eat like those Mediterranean. When you start making a claim for like purity, when you start hearing that happen, you're into ideology. It doesn't matter which area you're talking about. When people are like, this is the way to do it, then you're into ideology that is not scientific, that is not how the world works. I mean, I get irritated reading health journals, and you gotta do it like this. It's gotta be 30 minutes, 5 days a week. You have to do that or you can't be healthy. What? Like, where'd that come from? So now the opposite side is this kind of crap, where they're acting like they're telling you something and they didn't say a single thing. This is all this confusing blah. We're telling you it's plant-based. What the heck does plant-based even mean? And that's from Harvard. So if Harvard can't get their act together and figure out how to tell people actual healthy things, then we're in trouble. It's mostly because Harvard didn't want to hurt anyone's feeling, in my opinion. So we either purify it to the extreme where you have to do it this way, or we're so vague in general. So the vast majority of what's on the internet is simply there for marketing. So this, what I'm reading right here, is from Columbia University. Again, they should know, and they just told you nothing.